"You're not even half the woman my mother is," my daughter-in-law said at Sunday dinner. I pushed my chair back from the table and replied so calmly it surprised even me. "Perfect. Then she can start paying your rent." My son's face went pale as Georgia clay. "Rent? What rent?" Let me tell you how I got to that moment, how a single sentence can unravel 14 months of lies, of humiliation swallowed with sweet tea, of nights I cried over the jewelry I sold to keep afloat the life of someone who silently despised me. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing our family from all around the world come together. Thank you for being here and sharing your time with us. My name is Lorraine. I'm 67 years old, and I've got 3 gray hairs for every betrayal I've forgiven, and hands that still smell like the greens I cook every Sunday. The same greens I used to make for my husband Jerome before a heart attack took him from me 4 years ago. This story doesn't begin with that dinner. It begins much earlier, when I confused kindness with weakness and a mother's love with being a bank that never closes. But let's go back to that night, the night everything exploded. I had prepared Jerome's favorite meal, slow-cooked oxtails with rice and gravy, collard greens with smoked turkey, candied yams, and my grandmother's cornbread recipe that takes patience and a heavy hand with the butter. The table was set with Mama's good linen tablecloth, the one she gave me for my wedding 42 years ago. I had candles lit, vanilla bourbon scented, filling the dining room with warmth. I wanted it to be special. I wanted to believe we could still be a family. Terrence, my son, arrived with Candace, my daughter-in-law, and with my grandson, Isaiah, 14 months old. That baby reached his arms out when he saw me, and that gesture filled my chest with warmth that almost made me forget everything else. Almost. Candace came in without greeting me, her eyes glued to her phone. She was wearing a burgundy dress that I recognized immediately. I had seen that same style in a boutique window downtown Atlanta with a price tag of $1,200. $1,200. More than half of what I'd been transferring to them monthly for their rent emergency. During dinner, the conversation was tense as a guitar string about to snap. Candace barely touched the oxtails. "Too heavy for my stomach," she said, pushing the plate away with 2 fingers. Terrence ate in silence, with that look men get when they're caught between 2 women pulling them in opposite directions. Then came dessert. Peach cobbler made from scratch with that golden crust that melts on your tongue. I served the bowls and mentioned, trying to sound casual, that my sister Diane was coming next week from Birmingham. Candace looked up from her phone for the first time in 20 minutes. "That's nice, having someone come keep you company," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Because lately you seem very lonely, Lorraine. Not like my mama. She has friends, she travels, she lives her life. You just cook and wait for us to show up." I felt the blow in my stomach, but I smiled. I always smiled. "My mama tells me I should learn from her, not from you," Candace continued, taking a sip of sweet tea. "She says a real woman builds her own life. She doesn't sit around waiting for her children to pay her attention." Terrence cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Candace," but she was on a roll. She wiped her lips with the napkin and looked directly at me with those dark eyes that I once thought were beautiful, but now I only saw calculated coldness in them. "You're not even half the woman my mother is." The silence fell like lead on that table. The wall clock read 9:15. The ticking echoed in my ears, mixed with the rushing sound of my own boiling blood. 14 months, $24,000. My wedding jewelry sold, waking up at 3 in the morning with anxiety attacks, wondering if I'd make it to the end of the month. All of this just to hear this. I pushed my chair back. The sound scraped across the hardwood floor like a stifled scream. I stood up with a calmness I didn't even know I possessed and looked into her eyes. "Perfect," I said, my voice so serene it even surprised me. "Then she should start paying your rent." Candace blinked. Terrence dropped his fork. "What rent?" my son asked, turning toward his wife. His face had lost all color. What is Mama talking about? And there, at that precise moment, with the half-eaten cobbler and the candle still burning, I began to tell the truth I had kept hidden for over a year. But to understand why that truth hurt so much, I need to take you back 14 months. To the day when Candace knocked on my door crying and like a fool. I opened not only the door, but my wallet and my heart, too. If this story is resonating with you, stay with me, because what comes next will make you understand why silence sometimes cuts deeper than words, and why boundless kindness can become your own prison. 14 months ago, on a Tuesday in October that smelled of rain and falling leaves, Candace appeared at my door unannounced. It was 11 in the morning. I was watering the rose bushes in my front yard, those deep red roses that Jerome had planted years ago and that I tended like somehow, by caring for them, I could keep him alive. She knocked softly, almost timidly. When I opened the door, I found a Candace I didn't recognize. No flawless makeup, no proud posture. Her eyes were puffy and red, mascara streaked down her cheeks in dark paths. She wore an oversized gray sweatshirt, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. "Lorraine," she whispered, her voice breaking like fine glass. "Can I come in?" I brought her into the living room. I poured her some sweet tea and waited. Her hands trembled as she held the glass. She took 3 deep breaths before speaking. "I'm pregnant." My heart leaped. I was going to be a grandmother. The news filled me with instant joy that lasted exactly 4 seconds, until I saw her face. There was no happiness there, only panic. 3 months, she continued, running her hand over her belly. And Terrence lost his job 2 weeks ago. He didn't tell you because he's ashamed, Lorraine. So ashamed. They laid him off from the construction company, budget cuts. He's been searching, sending out resumes every day, but she let out a dry, sick-sounding sob. "We can't pay rent. It's $2,000 a month, and with our savings, we'll barely last 2 more months. After that..." Her eyes locked on mine, desperate. "I don't know what we're going to do. A baby on the way, no job, no money for the apartment. My mama can't help us. She has her money invested and doesn't want to touch it. She says we're adults and we need to solve our own problems." She leaned forward, clasping her hands like in prayer. "I need to ask you for something that's so hard for me I feel like I'm choking just thinking about it." She swallowed hard. "Could you lend us the rent money? Just for a few months. 3, 4 at most, until Terrence gets a job. I swear on this baby inside me, I'll pay you back every penny." I looked at those pleading hands and saw my son. I saw 8-year-old Terrence learning to ride a bike, falling again and again until his knees bled. I saw 16-year-old Terrence studying past midnight to pass his math exam. I saw the man Jerome and I raised to be good, hardworking, honest. "How much do you need?" I asked. $2,000 a month. "I promise you..." "It's okay," I interrupted her. "I'm going to help you." Candace exhaled like she'd been holding her breath since she arrived. She stood up and hugged me, and I felt her body trembling against mine. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have no idea what this means. You're an angel, Lorraine. An angel." But then came the part that should have alerted me. The part that, looking back, had the bitter taste of manipulation disguised as gratitude. "But Lorraine," she said, pulling back slightly, her eyes suddenly sharper, more calculated. "I need you to not tell Terrence we talked about this. He's proud. You know how men are. If he knows I came crying to his mama, it'll destroy him. He's already feeling like he's failing as a man, as a husband, as a future father." She grabbed my hands. "Let him think you just offered, like you found out somehow and just wanted to help. Can you do that for me? For him?" And there it was, the first red flag I ignored because I wanted so badly to believe in her, in them, in us as a family. "Of course," I said. "I understand. And one more thing," she added, biting her lower lip. "Could you maybe not tell anyone else? Not even your sister Diane? People talk, you know how it is, and I don't want anyone looking down on Terrence, thinking he can't provide for his family. I won't say anything, I promised. She smiled, that beautiful, grateful smile that I later learned was as rehearsed as a Sunday sermon. You're the best mother-in-law anyone could ask for. That afternoon, I transferred $2,000 to their account, the first of many transfers that would drain my savings like water through cupped hands. The following weeks passed in a strange routine. Every 28th of the month, I transferred $2,000. Terrence would call me, his voice tight with what I thought was embarrassment. "Mama, you don't have to—" "Hush now," I'd interrupt. "Family takes care of family. Your daddy would have done the same." What I didn't know, what Candace made sure I wouldn't know, was that Terrence had found a job 3 weeks after that tearful visit. A good job, too, working for a commercial roofing company in Decatur. He was bringing home decent money again, enough to pay their rent and then some, but Candace kept that little secret to herself. And every month she'd text me the day before the 28th, "Thank you for being there for us, Lorraine. We're still struggling, but Terrence is interviewing. We're so close to getting back on our feet, just a little longer." And like a fool, I believed her. The lies compounded. In December, 2 months into the payments, Candace called me crying again. "Lorraine, I hate to ask, but the car broke down. We need $1,200 for repairs. Without it, Terrence can't get to his job interviews." I gave her $1,200. In February, it was unexpected medical bills from pregnancy complications, $1,500. In March, the landlord is raising the rent, another $500 a month. By April, I was transferring $2,500 monthly, plus the occasional emergency that always seemed to cost between $500 and $2,000. I started selling things. First, small things I thought I wouldn't miss. My old jewelry, pieces I rarely wore, then bigger things. Jerome's coin collection that he'd built over 30 years, some of Mama's china. Each sale felt like cutting off a piece of my history, my memories, my connection to the people I'd loved and lost. But I told myself it was worth it, for Terrence, for my grandson, for family. The worst part? Candace's mother was in on it. I found this out months later, but Evelyn, Candace's mama, knew the whole scheme. In fact, she'd encouraged it. "Baby girl," she'd told Candace over the phone one night while I was there to babysit. Candace didn't know I could hear from the nursery. "You gotta milk this while you can. That old woman's got money just sitting there doing nothing. Jerome left her set up nice. She's lonely. She's desperate to feel needed. Use that. Get what you can for you and my grandson." Candace had laughed. "Mama, you're terrible." "No, baby, I'm smart. There's a difference. Evelyn's laws of success. Remember? Never let sentiment get in the way of securing your bag." That conversation happened in month 6, but I didn't hear it until month 12. By then, I'd given them almost $28,000. But let me tell you about the other humiliations, the small cruelties that hurt worse than the money. In month 5, Isaiah had his first birthday party. They rented out a whole event space in Buckhead, one of those fancy venues with exposed brick and Edison bulbs hanging from the ceiling, professional photographer, gourmet catering, custom cake that probably cost $500 alone. The invitation said, "Intimate Family Celebration." I showed up in my Sunday best, a navy dress I'd bought on sale at Macy's, sensible shoes, my hair freshly pressed. I brought a handmade photo album I'd spent weeks putting together, filled with pictures of Jerome and me, Terrence growing up, family history I wanted Isaiah to know. Candace's mama Evelyn was there, dripping in designer everything, holding court like a queen. When I walked in, Candace barely glanced my way. "Oh, you made it," she said flatly. "You can put the gift over there." Over there turned out to be a corner table piled with elaborate presents. Some ridiculous luxury stroller, designer baby clothes with tags still on showing $300 price points, the latest high-tech baby monitors. My handmade album looked pathetic next to all that. The photographer took hundreds of pictures that day, I know because Candace posted them all over social media. Isaiah's big day, she captioned each one. There were photos of Evelyn holding Isaiah, Candace and Terrence cutting the cake, Evelyn feeding Isaiah his first taste of birthday cake. I appeared in exactly 2 photos, both in the background, blurry, clearly accidental, like I was a stranger who'd wandered into someone else's party. That night, I cried myself to sleep on Jerome's pillow, the one I still hadn't washed because it carried the faintest scent of his cologne. In month 7, Candace started posting on social media about toxic family members and setting boundaries with people who try to control your life with guilt. I'd never tried to control anything. I'd never asked for anything back. But those posts got hundreds of likes, dozens of comments from her friends saying, "Yes, girl, protect your peace," and "You don't owe anyone access to your life." She never mentioned me by name, but everyone in the family knew who she was talking about. My sister Diane called me, furious. "Lorraine, what is going on? Everyone's talking about these posts. Are you and Terrence fighting?" I couldn't tell her the truth. I'd promised Candace I'd keep everything secret. So I lied to my own sister. No, everything's fine. Just some misunderstanding. But Diane wasn't stupid. "You're giving them money, aren't you?" she asked quietly. The silence on my end was answer enough. "Oh, Lorraine," she sighed. "Baby sister, when are you going to learn? You can't buy love. You can't buy respect." "I'm not trying to buy anything," I said, defensive. "I'm helping my son." "Are you? Or are you helping that manipulative woman bleed you dry?" I hung up on her. We didn't speak for 2 months after that. When we finally reconciled, I'd made her promise not to interfere, not to say anything to Terrence. Another promise that protected Candace and isolated me. By month 10, I'd sold almost everything of value I owned. Jerome's collection, Mama's good silver, my grandmother's pearls, a vintage brooch that had been in our family for 4 generations. The only thing I wouldn't sell was Jerome's silver watch, a Bulova he'd saved up for years to buy, the watch he wore on our wedding day, the watch that had marked every important moment of our 42 years together. That watch sat in a red velvet box in my nightstand drawer, the last treasure I had left, until I didn't. In month 12, Candace called with the biggest emergency yet. "Lorraine," she sobbed into the phone. "Terrence got hurt at work, fell off a ladder. He's okay, thank God, but he's going to be out for at least 6 weeks, and we don't have disability insurance yet since he just started this job. We're going to lose the apartment. We're going to be homeless with a baby." She was lying. I know that now. Terrence hadn't fallen off anything, but in that moment, listening to her cry, imagining my grandson without a home, I couldn't think straight. "How much?" I asked, my voice hollow. "8,000, she whispered. "I know it's a lot, I know, but—" "I don't have 8,000 in my account right now," I interrupted. "Oh." Her voice went flat, cold. "I see." "But I can get it," I said quickly, desperately. "I just need a few days." "We don't have a few days, Lorraine. The eviction notice says—" "I'll figure it out," I promised. "I'll get you the money." That weekend, I took Jerome's watch to a jewelry buyer on Ponce de Leon Avenue. The man examined it with a jeweler's loupe, turned it over in his hands, and finally looked up at me. "I can give you 6,000 for it." "It's worth more than that," I said, my voice cracking. "It's a Bulova, vintage, mint condition." "Lady, I'm offering you 6,000 cash today. Take it or leave it." I took it. I added 2,000 from what was left of my savings, money I'd been keeping for property taxes due in 3 months, and transferred all 8,000 to Candace's account. She texted back within minutes. "Got it, you're a lifesaver. Thank you so much." No call. No real gratitude, just those 3 words and some exclamation points. That night, I sat in my living room and looked at the empty spaces on my walls, on my shelves, in my heart. Everything that connected me to Jerome, to Mama, to my history, was gone. Sold off piece by piece to fund a lie I was too blind to see. I was 67 years old, and I had nothing to show for a lifetime of work, of saving, of building a life with a man I'd loved since I was 19 years old, and I had never felt more alone. But here's the thing about reaching rock bottom. It's the perfect place to start building yourself back up. 2 weeks after I sold Jerome's watch, I was at the grocery store in College Park, pushing my cart through the produce section, when I ran into Candace's cousin, Shanice. We'd met a few times at family gatherings. She was always sweet to me, genuine in a way that felt rare in Candace's circle. "Miss Lorraine," she called out, genuine pleasure in her voice. "How you been?" We made small talk for a few minutes. The weather, the price of groceries, how fast Isaiah was growing. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "Girl, I'm so glad Terrence got that promotion at his job. Candace was telling me at Sunday dinner last week that they're finally thinking about buying a house, looking at places in Smyrna. Promotion. Job. Buying a house." My mouth went dry. "Promotion?" I managed. "Yeah, she said he's making almost $20,000 more a year now. They're doing real good." She leaned in conspiratorially. "Between you and me, I'm proud of them. Candace's mama was so worried they weren't going to make it, but look at them now, thriving." I must have made some appropriate response, because Shanice hugged me and walked away, none the wiser to the bomb she'd just dropped in my lap. Terrence had a job. Not just any job, a job good enough to support his family, good enough to think about buying a house. How long had he been working? Since when? I drove home in a daze. Sat in my car in the driveway for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, my hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Then I went inside, opened my laptop, and did what I should have done 14 months ago. I investigated. It took me 3 days of digging through social media, calling old friends who might know people in the construction industry, asking careful questions. I even drove past their apartment building twice and saw Terrence's truck in the parking lot on a Wednesday afternoon when he'd supposedly been at job interviews. The truth assembled itself like a puzzle I'd been avoiding. Terrence had been employed since November, 1 month after the rent emergency began. He was making good money. They weren't struggling. They'd never been at risk of eviction. Everything Candace had told me was a lie. Every single thing. The tears came then. Not quiet, dignified tears, but ugly, gasping sobs that shook my whole body. I cried for my stupidity, for my blindness. For every dollar I'd handed over, for Jerome's watch sitting in some stranger's collection, for the emptiness in my home and in my heart. I cried until I had nothing left, and then, in that hollow, exhausted space, something else emerged. Anger. Pure, clarifying, righteous anger. I was done being the fool, done being the martyr, done being used. That night, I called my sister Diane. "I need your help," I said without preamble, "and I need you to not say, 'I told you so.'" "I would never," Diane said, though I could hear the smile in her voice. "What do you need, baby sister?" "A lawyer and a plan." Diane's friend, attorney Melanie Wright, practiced family law in downtown Atlanta. She was sharp, no nonsense, and when I told her my story, her expression went from professional sympathy to barely contained rage. "How much total?" she asked, pen poised over her legal pad. I'd done the math obsessively over the past 3 days. $24,000 in rent payments, plus another $8,000 in emergencies. $32,000. Attorney Wright wrote it down. "Do you have proof of the transfers?" "Every single one. Bank statements, text messages, everything." "Good. We're going to get your money back, Miss Lorraine. Every penny of it. But I need you to be prepared. This is going to get ugly. Your relationship with your son, with your daughter-in-law, it's going to be damaged, possibly permanently." I met her eyes. "It's already damaged. They just don't know it yet." Attorney Wright smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of a woman who'd seen too many good people get taken advantage of and was tired of it. "Then let's get to work." The legal strategy was simple but devastating. We would draft a formal loan agreement, retroactive, showing every transfer as a loan with standard interest rates. We would present it to Candace and Terrence with a demand for repayment within 30 days. If they refused, we would file a civil suit. But the real strategy, the revenge, if you want to call it that, was more elegant than any lawsuit could ever be. We would expose the truth at the moment when it would hurt the most. Attorney Wright helped me craft everything. We created a formal promissory note, documenting every dollar, every date, every text message where Candace had claimed poverty while hiding the truth. We included interest, 10%, completely legal and reasonable, bringing the total owed to just over $36,000. And then we waited. The Sunday dinner invitation came from Terrence. "Mama, Candace wants to do a family dinner, something special. Can you come by next week?" "Of course, baby," I said, my voice as warm as it had always been. "I'll bring my peach cobbler. You don't have to bring anything, Mama, just yourself." But I brought the cobbler anyway, and something else in my purse. Which brings us back to that dining room, to that moment when Candace said, "You're not even half the woman my mother is," and I finally stopped being silent. After I said, "Then she should start paying your rent," the room exploded into chaos. "What is Mama talking about?" Terrence demanded, turning to Candace. His face had gone pale. Candace's expression cycled through shock, panic, and then settled on defensive anger. "It's not what you think, Terrence." "Then what is it?" he asked. His voice was quiet, dangerous. I'd heard that tone once before when he was 18 and found out his best friend had been lying to him for months. That was the tone of trust breaking in real time. "Your mother offered to help us," Candace said quickly. "When you lost your job, she offered—" "That was 14 months ago," I said calmly, cutting through her lie. 14 months. At $2,000 a month for the first 6 months, then $2,500 for the next 8, plus the emergencies, the car repairs that cost $1,200, the medical bills that cost $1,500, the eviction scare that cost $8,000. Terrence was staring at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "Mama, what? I had a job 3 weeks after I got laid off. I told you that. I called you in November, remember? When I got hired at Crawford Roofing?" "You told me," I agreed. "But Candace told me you were still looking. She told me you were struggling. She told me you needed help." The silence was deafening. "Candace?" Terrence turned to his wife. "Tell me Mama's confused. Tell me this isn't real." Candace opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I was trying to help us get ahead, Terrence. Your mama has money. She's alone. She wanted to feel needed." "So you lied to her? For 14 months? His voice was rising. "You took money from my mother while I was working? While we had income? Your mother offered—" "Because you lied to her!" Terrence stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "You told her I was unemployed. You told her we were about to be evicted." Little Isaiah started crying in his high chair. I moved instinctively to comfort him, but Candace beat me to it, scooping him up like a shield. "Don't you dare judge me," Candace snapped, her mask finally slipping completely. "My mama taught me to be smart, to secure my future." "Your mama taught you to be a con artist," I said quietly. Candace's head whipped toward me. "Excuse me?" I opened my purse and pulled out the folder Attorney Wright had prepared. "This is a promissory note documenting every dollar I gave you. $32,000 in principal, $4,000 in interest, $36,000 total." I slid the folder across the table toward them. "You have 30 days to begin repayment, or I file a civil suit. Attorney Melanie Wright has already prepared the paperwork." "You're suing us?" Candace shrieked. "Over money you gave us?" "Over money you lied to receive," I corrected. "That's called fraud, Candace, and I have documentation. Every text message where you claimed poverty, every phone call where you cried about not being able to feed my grandson while posting pictures on Instagram in $1,200 dresses." Terrence had picked up the folder. His hands were shaking as he read through the documents. "Mama," he whispered. "Mama, I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know." "I know you didn't, baby," I said gently. Your wife made sure of that. This is insane. Candace was backing toward the door, Isaiah still in her arms. You're insane. What kind of mother sues her own family? What kind of daughter-in-law scams her husband's mother out of $32,000? I asked. My voice was still calm, still quiet, but now it had steel in it. What kind of woman sells her husband's trust and his mother's love for designer dresses and a lifestyle she wanted but didn't earn? Terrence, we're leaving, Candace demanded. We're leaving right now. But Terrence wasn't moving. He was still reading the documents, and with each page, I watched his face transform from shock to disbelief to heartbreak to something harder. No, he said. What? Candace froze. No, we're not leaving. Not until we figure this out. Not until you explain to me how you could do this to my mother, to me, to our family. I did this for our family, for our future. You did this for yourself, Terrence said quietly, just like your mama taught you, and you made me complicit by hiding it from me. You made me a liar to my own mother. He looked at me, and I saw tears in his eyes. Mama, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I would never, if I had known. I know, baby. My voice broke. I know. That night ended with Candace storming out, Isaiah crying, and Terrence sitting at my kitchen table with his head in his hands, sobbing like the little boy he used to be. How could I not have seen it? He kept asking. How could I have been so blind? Because you loved her, I said simply, and you trusted her. There's no shame in that. There is when it costs you everything that matters. He wiped his eyes. What do you want, Mama? The truth. What do you want from us? I thought about that question for a long moment. What did I want? Revenge? Justice? My money back? I want honesty, I finally said. I want respect. I want to be part of my grandson's life without being treated like an ATM or a burden. And I want your wife to understand that what she did was wrong, deeply wrong, and she needs to make it right. She will, Terrence promised. I'll make sure of it, even if... He stopped, the implications hanging heavy between us, even if it ended his marriage. That's what he couldn't say. The following week was chaos. Terrence moved out of the apartment he shared with Candace, staying temporarily with a friend while he figured things out. Candace called me 17 times. I didn't answer. She sent texts ranging from apologetic to angry to threatening. I forwarded all of them to Attorney Wright. Then Evelyn, Candace's mother, showed up at my house. I saw her coming up the walkway dressed in a cream pantsuit that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. Designer sunglasses, confidence in every step. I almost didn't answer the door, but curiosity won out. Lorraine, she said when I opened the door. Not a greeting, just my name, flat and cold. Evelyn, we need to talk. I don't think we do. My daughter is devastated. Your grandson is caught in the middle. Terrence has moved out. Don't you think this has gone far enough? I crossed my arms. You mean now that there are consequences? Now that your little scheme has blown up? Her eyes narrowed. Scheme? Lorraine, Candace was helping ensure her family's future. Your son couldn't handle the responsibility. My son has been employed for over a year, making good money, and would have handled his responsibilities just fine if your daughter hadn't lied to both of us. I stepped forward, and Evelyn actually stepped back. You taught her this, didn't you? Your laws of success. Use people. Take what you can get. Don't let sentiment get in the way of securing your bag. Evelyn's face went still. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I think I do. See, Candace doesn't know how to lie quietly. She tells people things. She bragged to friends, posted on social media. And people talk, Evelyn. People talk. This is ridiculous. You want to destroy my daughter over money? Over your own pride? No, I said quietly. I want your daughter to learn that actions have consequences. that you can't lie and steal and manipulate people who love you without eventually paying the price. And I want you to understand that your laws of success destroyed your daughter's marriage and cost her the respect of her husband and her mother-in-law. Was it worth it, Evelyn? Was securing the bag worth losing everything else? She stared at me for a long moment, her jaw tight. Then she turned and walked away without another word. I closed the door, leaned against it, and allowed myself a small, bitter smile. Maybe I wasn't half the woman Evelyn was. Maybe I was twice the woman she'd ever be. The 30 days in the promissory note came and went. No payment, no contact except hostile texts from Candace that my lawyer advised me to keep documenting. Attorney Wright filed the civil suit. The case was scheduled for a court hearing 6 weeks out. In the meantime, word spread through the family, through the community, through folks at Greater Bethel AME, where I'd been a member for 35 years. People took sides. Some thought I was being vindictive, suing my own family. Others thought I was finally standing up for myself. My sister Diane was firmly in the latter camp. "Baby sister," she told me over Sunday dinner at her place, "I'm proud of you. I know this is hard, I know it hurts, but you're not letting them steamroll you anymore." "It doesn't feel like winning," I admitted. "That's because it's not about winning," Diane said. "It's about dignity. It's about teaching that girl that she can't treat people like disposable ATMs. And honestly, it's about showing Terrence that his wife isn't who he thought she was. That's a gift, Lorraine, even if it doesn't feel like one." 2 weeks before the court date, Terrence showed up at my house with Candace. This was a different Candace than I'd seen at that explosive dinner. No designer clothes, no perfectly styled hair. She wore jeans and a simple blouse, her face free of makeup, her eyes red and swollen. "Mama," Terrence said quietly, "Candace has something she wants to say to you." We sat in my living room, the same living room where I'd handed over thousands of dollars, where I'd believed her lies, where I'd cried over my emptiness. The same living room that now felt like mine again. Candace couldn't look at me. She stared at her hands twisted together in her lap. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry for everything." I waited. Silence is a powerful thing. People rush to fill it. And in that rushing, truth comes out. "My mama raised me to be strategic," Candace continued. "She taught me that the world doesn't give women anything, so you have to take what you can get. You have to be smarter than everyone else. You have to look out for yourself first because nobody else will." She finally looked up at me, and I saw real pain in her eyes. "When you offered to help, I saw an opportunity, and my mama encouraged me to take it, to milk it, to use you. Because you were lonely, because you had money, because you wanted to feel needed." "And that made it okay?" I asked quietly. No, it didn't. But I convinced myself it did. I convinced myself you could afford it, that you wouldn't miss it, that you wanted to do it. I convinced myself of a lot of lies, Miss Lorraine. And in the process, I destroyed my marriage, my relationship with my son's grandmother, my own self-respect. She wiped her eyes. "Terrence has been sleeping at his friend's place for 3 weeks. We're probably getting divorced. He can barely look at me. My own mama won't speak to me because she says I fumbled by getting caught. And I deserve all of it. I deserve everything that's happening to me." "What do you want from me, Candace?" I asked. "I want—" Her voice broke. "I want to make this right. I can't pay you back all at once. I don't have $36,000, but I can pay you back over time. Terrence and we can set up a payment plan. We can do $1,000 a month. More if we can manage it. It'll take time, but I swear to you, I will pay back every penny." She reached into her purse and pulled out a check. "This is $4,000. It's everything I have in my personal account. Consider it the first payment." I took the check, looked at it, looked at her. "And what about the other part?" "What other part?" "The respect, the honesty, being part of Isaiah's life without being treated like a burden." Candace nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes to all of that. I want Isaiah to know his grandmother, the real you, not the version I painted in my head to make myself feel better about using you. She sobbed. I want to be a better person than my mama raised me to be, and I don't know how to do that, but I want to try. I looked at Terrence. He was watching his wife with an expression I couldn't quite read, part love, part disappointment, part hope. Attorney Wright drafted a payment plan, I said. $1,000 a month until the debt is paid in full, including interest. It's a legal document. You sign it, you commit to it, and if you miss 2 consecutive payments, the full amount becomes due immediately and I can still pursue collection. Are you willing to sign it? Yes, Candace said immediately. Yes, I'll sign it. One more thing, I said. Family therapy. You, Terrence, and me. Once a month, facilitated by a professional. To rebuild what was broken, to learn how to be a family that's honest with each other. Candace looked at Terrence. He nodded slightly. Okay, she whispered. Okay. We signed the papers that evening at my kitchen table. Attorney Wright had everything prepared, the promissory note, the payment schedule, the terms. It was all there in black and white, legal and binding. When it was done, Candace stood up to leave, then hesitated. Miss Lorraine, she said quietly, thank you for not giving up on us completely. I didn't respond. I wasn't ready for forgiveness yet. Maybe I'd never be. But I could accept accountability when I saw it. The months that followed were strange, difficult, but slowly healing. Candace made every payment on time. $1,000 on the first of every month, like clockwork. Sometimes more, when Terrence got a bonus, when she picked up extra shifts at her job. The promissory note sat in my filing cabinet, each payment checked off, the balance slowly decreasing. The family therapy sessions were painful. The therapist, Dr. Angela Harris, didn't let anyone hide behind excuses or pretty words. She made us confront hard truths. Lorraine, she said in our 3rd session, you've accepted accountability from Candace and Terrence, but I need you to accept some accountability too. For what? I asked, defensive. For allowing this to happen, for not setting boundaries, for keeping secrets that isolated you and prevented your family from truly helping you. That hurt, because it was true. You taught them how to treat you, Dr. Harris continued gently, by saying yes to everything, by never demanding respect, by keeping their lie a secret. I'm not saying what they did was right. It absolutely wasn't. But if you want this relationship to move forward, you need to learn to use your voice before things get to a breaking point. In our 5th session, Terrence broke down. I feel like I failed everyone, he sobbed. I failed Mama by not knowing what Candace was doing. I failed Candace by not being the husband she needed to keep her honest. I failed Isaiah by letting him grow up in a home built on lies. Then don't fail them anymore, Dr. Harris said simply. Be present, be honest, be better. By month 8, something shifted. We were having one of our now regular Sunday dinners. These had become a tradition every 2 weeks, and Candace found me in the kitchen while I made coffee. Lorraine, there's something I want to tell you, she said. I looked up, surprised by the serious tone. I stopped talking to my mama. Not completely, but I set hard boundaries. I told her I don't want her advice on how to manage my marriage or my money. I told her that her lessons on being a smart woman almost destroyed my family. And how did she take that? She hung up on me. We haven't spoken in 3 weeks. Candace wiped away a tear. And it's scary and it's sad, but it's also freeing. All my life, I tried to be like her. Strong, calculating, always thinking of myself first. I thought that was being smart, but it's not. It's just being lonely. It's not easy to unlearn what you're taught from childhood, I said. No, but I have to do it. For Terrence, for Isaiah, for... She looked at me directly. And because I don't want my son growing up believing it's okay to use people who love you. I nodded. That's a good start. In September, 11 months after that explosive dinner, Candace made the final payment on the promissory note, $36,000 in full, including interest. I received the bank notification on a Tuesday morning. Diane called me immediately. "Did you see it?" "I saw it. She paid everything." "It's over. It's over," I repeated, and the word felt like a door closing gently, without slamming, without violence, just closing. That evening, I invited Terrence, Candace, and Isaiah to dinner. I didn't tell them why, just that it was important. When they arrived, I had the table set with my good china. I'd cooked Terrence's favorite meal, the same oxtails and sides I'd made for that fateful dinner. We ate amidst laughter and stories. Isaiah was walking confidently now, saying full sentences. "More bread, Nana." "Water, please." "Mama, look." After dessert, I pulled out a manila envelope. "This is for you," I said, sliding it across the table toward Candace. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside was the original promissory note she'd signed 11 months ago, stamped diagonally with a red seal that said "Paid in full." "You already paid your debt," I said. "All of it, with interest. This document no longer has legal value. It's yours to keep or destroy." Candace took the paper, and her lower lip started trembling. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. I just want you to understand something." I leaned forward. The money was never the most important thing. What mattered was the respect, the honesty, acknowledging that what you did was wrong, and you've given me that. "So you forgive me then?" "Really?" I looked at her. I saw a different woman than the one from 2 years ago. More tired, yes, less polished, less perfect, but more real, more human. "I forgive you," I said. "I won't forget. I'll never forget, but I forgive you." She got up from her chair, walked around the table, and hugged me. It was a long, tight hug, wet with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on us." October arrived with clear skies and a surprise. Terrence and Candace organized a party for Isaiah's 2nd birthday. This time, it was in a modest public park with 20 guests. No professional decorators or gourmet catering, just balloons, homemade food, and a cake from Ms. Baker's shop on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. But something else was important. When the photographer, a friend of Terrence's doing them a favor, finished taking pictures, Candace called me aside. "I want you to see something." She pulled out her phone, showed me the digital album, 120 photos in total. I appeared in 53 of them, holding Isaiah, cutting the cake, singing Happy Birthday, laughing with Diane, sitting with my grandson on my lap. 53 photos where I wasn't in the background or an accident. I was Nana. I was family. I was visible. "This time, you're in them," Candace said softly. "This time, I included you in every important moment because you belong here." I couldn't speak. I just nodded as tears flowed freely. That night, back home, I sat in my living room and thought about the whole journey, the humiliations endured, the money lost and recovered, the jewelry sold that would never return, but didn't hurt quite so much anymore. Jerome's watch was gone forever. I'd made peace with that. Some things can't be recovered, and that's okay. I thought about Candace and her imperfect but real transformation, about Terrence learning to use his voice, about Isaiah growing up in a more honest home than he almost had. I thought about myself, about the Lorraine who'd opened her door 2 years ago without knowing she was opening herself to exploitation, and about the Lorraine of today who'd learned that love without boundaries isn't love, it's self-destruction. I picked up my phone and wrote a message in our family group chat. "Thank you for today. It was perfect. I love you all." The replies came quickly. Terrence, "We love you, Mama. Thank you for everything, always." Candace, "Thank you for giving us another chance. We won't waste it." Diane, "Proud of you, baby sister." I smiled, turned off my phone, and made myself some chamomile tea. I sat in the armchair Jerome and I had bought on our 5th anniversary. Outside, Atlanta breathed its nightly rhythm of millions of intertwined lives. Every lit window told a story. Every story had its pain and its hope. Mine had had both. And now, finally, I had something more important: peace. Because I learned something in these 2 years of silent battle. True wealth isn't about what you possess. It's about what you refuse to let them take from you. I didn't let them take my dignity. Didn't let them take my voice. Didn't let them take my right to set boundaries and demand respect. And that, ultimately, was worth more than any amount of money, more than $36,000, more than a silver watch, more than anything. Future generations, Isaiah and the children he may have someday, will grow up knowing this story. They'll know that their grandmother was a woman who forgave without forgetting, who loved without allowing abuse, who was kind without being foolish. And when Isaiah is old enough to understand, I'll tell him about his grandfather, Jerome. I'll tell him about love and loss, about holding on and letting go. I'll teach him that some things can't be recovered, and that's part of life. But most importantly, I'll teach him that forgiveness is possible, that families break and heal, that real love has thorns, but also flowers, and that sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who's been hurt the deepest and still chooses not to turn to stone. If this story moved you, don't leave without letting us know. Your likes, your comments, and your subscription aren't just buttons. They're the heartbeat of this community. They help these stories reach someone who might need them today. Thank you for walking this journey with us. Until the next one, stay strong, stay safe, and stay connected.